let me share my screen. محمد معنا أنت؟
ايه انا معك.
اليوم we will be covering two modules, module 1 و module 2. نمشي فيهم systematically. هو هذا الكورس 12 modules. كل مرة we will cover two modules accordingly. هو هذا أول technical course عنا نحن
هو رح يكون في development شوي tools يعني
ايه في
تستعملهم.
development. يمكن مش اليوم نبلش development بس انه هو في development. حنشوف ب موديل 1 للمايكروسوفت داينامكس بزنس سنتر ديفلوبمنت انفايرمنت. بهيدا الكورس بنكفر كمش اي تايب ولا مايكروسوفت. We present the basic objective types in Microsoft Dynamics Business Central, describe fundamental aspects of Microsoft Dynamics Business Central development environment. This includes the user interface, application objects, and basic metadata concepts. We will explain the physical and logical database structure. Also, we will explain the features for multi-developer environments. لنبلش بهذا الموديول. The key to developing solutions in Microsoft Dynamics is understanding the basic objects that are available in Microsoft Dynamics Business Central, learning about the Microsoft Dynamics Business Central development environment fundamentals, and understanding the database structures. هيك نقدر نحن على نبلش نعرف التكنيكال بارت كيف بيمشي بهالسيستم. أول lesson اللي هو basic objects in Microsoft Dynamics Business Central. There are 7 object types available in Microsoft Dynamics Business Central development environment. As a developer, you can edit existing objects or create new objects of the specified types. 7 objects مثل ما انت شايف هون هن table, page, report, code unit, query, XML port, and menu suite. التيبل يمكن اذا انتم فاميليير بشوي بالداتابيسز. table are هن التيبلز اللي بتصير فيهم data. As simple as that. Describes how data is stored in the database and how it is retrieved. Table is the most important object type because the most objects depend on them. تاني type هو page, which enables users to view, add, change or delete records in a table. البيج هي الفيو تاعها اللي انا بقدر افتحها بقلب ناف وعبي وشيل وحط داتا منه بقلب تيبل. ريبورت مثل ما كاتبين prints or previews the data from a Microsoft Dynamics NAV database or Business Central database. Code unit, which is an organized unit of programming code, typically for managing a single process. Code units are called other objects to complete specific tasks. كود يونت هو وين الهيفي كودينج بينعمل بقلب داينامكس. عندنا سيت اوف كود يونتس بنخلق فيهم فانكشنز بنخلق فيهم كذا شغله لنقدر نستعمل كود. الاوبجكت تايب اللي هلا عندنا اياها اللي هي كويري اللي هي 5 defines a relational data model for direct and efficient querying of the underlying Microsoft SQL Server database. بنقدر نعمل كويري من الداتابيس دايركتلي بنقدر تو اكسبلويت هذه الكويري بقلب السيستم. عندنا ال XML port which imports or exports data in to and or from Dynamics BC database in an XML or text format. نقدر نعمل import و export لداتا من قلب السيستم ب XML أو text format. The menu suite describes menus that are displayed in the departments in the Microsoft Dynamics Business Central client for Windows اللي هو نحن كيف فينا نظبط المنيو تاعنا. هلا is Microsoft Dynamics Business Central object oriented؟ Is it object oriented? Microsoft Dynamics Business Central is not object oriented but object based. This is an important difference. In an object oriented language or environment, developers can create new types of objects based on the objects that are already in the system. while in Microsoft Dynamics Business Center there are 7 types of application objects. You can create a new objects of any of these types. However, you cannot create a new object type. يعني ما فينا نخلق تايب جديد. احنا هول 7 types، هول 7 types عنا بس within هول التايبس فينا نخلق objects جداد. However, you cannot create new object types or inherit any functionality between objects of the same type. Limiting developers to these 7 object types makes development faster and more efficient. The biggest benefit from this limitation is stability. It is fairly difficult to create a severe bug in Microsoft Dynamics Business Central. يعني احنا ما فينا صعب نخلق bug كتير كتير سيفير بقلب السيستم لان احنا we are limited to 7 objects. نقدر نخلق object types only. Object Designer Fundamentals. نحن في عنا هلا شيء اسمه Object Designer اللي هو نحن بيكون نازل عنا وقت ننزل السيستم. هيدا نسكر هيدي اللي هو مايكروسوفت داينامكس ديفل ان NAV او بزنس سنترال ديفلوبمنت انفايرمنت. نحط هون احنا بننقي بس نحط فايل ونحط كل شيء، بنحط تولز اوبجكت ديزاينر مثل ما شفتوا نحن عندنا تيبل، بيج، ريبورت، كود يونت، كويري، اكس ام ال بورت، منيو سويت واول فور سم ريزن. هيدا هو الاوبجكت ديزاينر. نبلش فيه. Development in Microsoft Dynamics Business Central is performed using the Microsoft Dynamics Business Central development environment. This environment includes features for application development, database maintenance, and license administration. The central development feature is the Object Designer. Object Designer consists of the 7 object designers for designing different application object types in Microsoft Dynamics Business Central. For examples, tables are created by using the table designer, pages are created by using the page designer, and so on. Either table designer, page designer, report designer, and so on. Object Designer provides access to all application objects in Microsoft Dynamics Business Central application. Application objects are created using several general concepts. A fundamental knowledge of these concepts speeds up the C-side application development process. We can now open a database build develop environment. Before you start development, you must first open a database. To open the database, we click File, Database, and Open. In the Open Database window, the Open Database window enables you to connect to a Microsoft SQL Server database that stores the Microsoft Dynamics Business Central application objects and data. بننقي السيرفر، بننقي الداتابيز نيم والاوثنتيكيشن. هون اذا في عندنا نت تايب او اتاتش فايل. You must first specify the Microsoft SQL server that hosts the Dynamics Business Central database. You can either enter the server name in the server name field, or you can select a server that is available in the SQL server. بس فينا ننقي إذا عندنا كذا SQL server. The available Microsoft SQL servers window displays the list of Microsoft SQL server instances that are detected to be running in the network. هول السيرفرز مثل ما قلت لكم. You must select the authentication mode in the authentication field. مثل هون مثل شفتوا. Either we can select Windows authentication or database server application. You must select okay. الديفرنس هو أن Windows authentication بياخد السيستم بياخد runs the Windows user that we are logged in, or we can select نحط database authentication وبنحط username and password ل database login. Finally, you must select the Microsoft SQL Server database. You can enter the name in the database name الموجود هون, or you can press and select which database you want to use. وقت نكبسها, the available database windows displays all Microsoft Dynamics Business Central databases الموجودين عندنا. to complete the opening the database in the open database window we click OK وقت نحط OK بيفتح database كمان. اوكي هون نحن شفنا how to open a database. هلا نحن حنشوف how to managing databases managing objects. You manage Microsoft Dynamics Business Central application objects from the object designer. To access object designer مثل ما قلت لكم بنروح tools object designer بيفتح لنا object designer اذا كان مسكر او we press shift F12. Object designer has three areas: object type, buttons, object list, and object design actions, as you can see here. The object lists in the central part of the object designer, هذه list. It displays the application objects together with their most important properties. You can set the following properties. عندنا التايب، هيدا التايب. أول وحدة التايب هي بتكون object type is the object type of the object. It is presented by an icon. You cannot change the type of an existing object. ما فينا نغير type هون. مثلا نشوفوا التيبل هي موجودة هيك الايكون البيج هيك شكلها، ريبورت هيك شكله، الكوردينيت شكلها etc. We have the ID, which is the unique identifier of the object within the object type. You assign the ID during the object creation. The best practice is do not change the ID of an existing object. Variables and some objects properties refer to other objects by using their IDs. If you change an ID of existing can fail or more serious bugs can occur. عندنا هلا ثاني field غير ال ID عندنا name. A unique name of the object within the object type. You assign the name typically when you create the object. However, you can change it later. A name can contain up to 30 characters and may contain any character that is permitted by the code page that is specified in the collation option of the database. We should take into consideration that changing the object name is possible but not recommended. If you can change an object name, you do not affect any of the compiled objects. However, you may prevent uncompiled objects from compiling. You should only consider changing object names for the objects that you created and before you refer to them for other projects. عندنا الفيلد اللي بعده هو المodified field موجود, which is indication that an object was changed by a developer. The modified flag is switched on automatically by the system. When you save an object, you can switch the flag on and off as needed. هون يعني انا اذا فت هلا اذا هول مش محطوط مش عاملينهم نحن ديزاين او شيء بضلوا انه ما فيهم موديفايد انه هول بعدهم از من مايكروسوفت. بس اذا احنا بنفتحهم من let me change the license sorry. اوكي مثلا اذا فتحنا هون وعملنا لها سيف نحن مثلا بحط لنا صارت موديفايد هون يعني نحن اذا عدلنا فيها انه هيدي بطلت از من مايكروسوفت. We can turn it off إذا بدنا نك مثلا turn it off. Best practice when working on an object, it is best to ignore the state of the modified flag as soon as you are ready to deploy the object to a customer's live environment. You should clear this flag and خلص هيدي منا modified. عندنا الversion list مثل ما شايفين هون. The list that contains the version that have changed an object. Each version is represented by a tag. The version tags are spared by commas. A version list can be contain up to 80 characters. Always tag the object that you change by appending another version tag to the version list. Include both the alphanumeric and the numeric part of the version list بقلب الversion. يعني إذا أنا فتح عدلت بشيء في أنا هون حط كما حط مثلا scroll up JF فحص مثلا سوري JF 2 J مثلا نحن اليوم 15/03/23 هيك ساعتها بعرف انه انا جاد عدل هاي الاوبجكت بهذا التاريخ مثلا هيدي لنقدر يكون عندنا هيستوري نحن شو ابديتس بالاوبجكتس. في عندنا هلا الديت مثل شايفين هون، وهلا انتم اذا ملاحظين انه في ديت هيدي الاوبجكت تايب تاريخ اليوم انه نحن معدل فيها هنس انه this field that displays the date when an object was last saved، يعني انا اخر مره سيفتها بتحط لي الديت تاعها. بس فينا نرجع نغيرها نحن مانيولي مثل ما نحن بدنا نرجعها مثل ما كانت قبل، حطيتها مثل هلا في عندنا التايم field that displays the time when an object was last saved. It is set by Microsoft Dynamics developed environment. However you can change it also manually. فينا نغيرها manually. عندنا هلا احنا الcompiled، هيدي كمان هي check box او flag. It's indication that an object was saved in a compiled form. However you can يعني debugged form، يعني as if انعمل debug للكود وما في ولا error بيعمل له بحط لك compile اذا معدل انا بالكود. Indication that an object was saved in a compiled form. You cannot change this property manually. However, you can decide whenever to compile an object at any time that you save it, or you can compile it by clicking Tools, Compile. Tools, Compile. بيقول لك بدك with validation أو لا. with validation yes. عشان احنا معدلينه ما اخذ كومبايل، ونرجع نعمل له F11. بالاف 11 بيعمل كومبايل، عمل كومبايل. شفتوا لانه احنا كنا معدلينه وردينه رجع يعمل كومبايل لحاله. You cannot enter, run or otherwise use an uncompiled objects in Microsoft Dynamics development environment. اذا كان عندنا اوبجكت منه compiled، يعني انا مش عامل له compile وسيف وسيستم مش هيك الكود تبعه، هذا الاوبجكت ما راح اقدر استعمله انا بقلب السيستم. في عندنا هلا نحن locked field. It is an indication that an object is locked by a developer. A locked object can be saved only by the developer who locked it. إذا أنا عملت لها lock هيدي التيبل فينا نعمل لها lock نحن، و locked by who ساعتها أنا I only lock it لأنه ما حدا يقدر يستعملها إلا أنا كيوزر. والlocked by آخر فيد اللي هو عنا يعني هو indication that someone has locked an object. Only the developer whose user ID is shown in this field can save the object. ثاني بارت نحن كنا نقول عنه في عنا نحن اياه هو الاوبجكت تايب باتنز. هول الباتنز اللي هن اوبجكت تايب نكبس عليهم، هول اوبجكت تايب باتنز اسمهم are located to the left of the object list and they filter the object list by a specific type. A button represents each object type in Microsoft Dynamics Business Central, and there is an additional all button مثل ما فرجيتكم هيدا all button. If you click a button that represents an object type, the object list filters to displays only the objects of the selected type. If you click all, the objects list displays all objects regardless of the type. Object design buttons are located in the bottom of the object list. مثل ما شايفين احنا هون object design. في عنا new button that creates a new object of the currently selected object type. عنا the design button which opens the selected object in the appropriate designer. We have the run button runs the objects of the Dynamics Business Central. وعندنا الهلب اللي هو بيفتح لنا الهلب ديسك تاعنا. نكمل. Now we'll see how to create an object. الستاب هلا حنعملها هو how to create an object. We select the object type by clicking the appropriate object type button. بننقي الاوبجكت type button بدنا اياه. We click new تحت بسنا new. In our case هون عم نخلق a new table. On each object type has different designer in Microsoft Dynamics Business Central Development Environment. كل type عنده شكل designer غير. Depending on the selected object type, a different designer displays when you are creating a new or editing an existing object. هلا different object type designers are explained in details and specific chapters بهالكورس. هنفوت in details بكل the object type designer. بس انا مثلا هيدا التيبل فيها enabled، في النمبر، في النيم، data type، length، description، هون حنحكي عنهم بالكورس ان شاء الله بالشابترز الجايين. هلا مثل ما شايفين بعد نحن هون بالسلايد editing an object. To edit an object we select in the object design, we select the object in the object designer. مثلا نعمل edit للlocation table ونكبس design بسنا design. This opens and the selected object in the appropriate designer for the object type. For example هون نحن عملنا edit ل table 14 which is location. فتحت عنا هون بتفرجينا الفيلدات اللي بقلب التيبل في 14 مع الاي ديز تبعولهم مع الداتا تايب، اللينك، ديسكربشن، مثل ما قلنا حنرجع ندسكس هول in details. هلا how to save an object. مثلا اذا خلقنا object جديده how to save it. When you are designing an object either by creating a new one or editing an existing one, you can save the object to the database. To save an object بنروح نكبس file نكون قلبها سوري design file save او بنحط save as بنسيفها مثلا باسم project تاني. The save as window will show you are saving objects for the first time. The save as window requires that you specify the ID and name properties for the object. Both the ID and name must be unique within the object type. If you accidentally specify the ID of an existing object, the development environment asks you if you want to replace the existing object. If you want to specify the name of an existing object, then the save operation fails with an error. يعني ما فينا نسيفها باي دي تاني بس بدنا نعملها ريبليس اذا هي اوريدي موجود، واذا بدنا نحط نفس النيم لغير اوبجكت كمان ما حيخلينا السيستم يحطها. In the save as window you can decide whether to compile the object before you save it or you save it in an uncompiled state. اذا هون حطينا synchronized اذا حطيناها later ما حيعمل سوري. اذا هون الكومبايل بنشيل الكومبايلد هيك ساعتها ما بيعمل لها كومبايل. اذا حطينا الكومبايل ساعتها بيعمل لها كومبايل. as simple as that. شفنا editing saving an object. هلا compiling an object بس an object can be saved in its compiled or uncompiled state. Only compiled objects can be run from the object designer, otherwise accessed by user or application code. You can compile an object both from object designer window or when you edit the object in its specific designer. To compile an object نكبس tools compile مثل ما قلت لكم، او فينا نعمل F11 tools compile، او بنحط F11 يعمل لنا compile. هلا بكبس انا F11 ما عم يكمل ورقه يعني هي it's compiled. The compile function is checking the definition of the object and the CAL code in the object that makes sure that the object can be run in Microsoft Dynamics Business Central. If a problem prevents the object from being run, the compile function displays the error which explains the problem. If compile succeeds, no message is shown. If you are accessing compile function from Object Designer and the function succeeds, the compile flag in the object list changes to the state to selected. You can compile multiple objects at the same time by selecting in the Object Designer and then accessing the compile function. When compile multiple objects, the compiler does not stop when it encounters an error, but continues compiling until all objects are compiled. If there were any errors during the compiling, the error list window is shown that specifies when an object contains an error. When you compile multiple objects, all objects that contain a compile time error are automatically marked by the compiler. You can only view on the only mark the objects by clicking view marked only. For example, بنقي objects المنن compiled. When you are saving an object, the Microsoft Dynamics Business Central developed environment, you can decide to also compile the object as a part of the saving process. To compile objects during saving, you can select the compile checkbox. This is available in both in the save as and the save as windows. If you select the compile checkbox, Microsoft Dynamics Business Center environment will first try to compile the object, and only if there are no errors it will save the object in the database. هلا خلينا نحكي عن ال properties لكل object. هون properties. Properties defines the characteristics of an object or an element, an object such as behavior or appearance. For example, the insert allowed property defines if a user can create new records in a table and in the table. مثلا هون نحط احنا view tools view properties وين افتح لها design properties هون هيدا ال properties windows of a table. Insert allowed property defines if a user can create new records in a table, and the editable property defines if a user can edit the content of or edit the content or control. Depending on the object type, there are different properties that you can set on an object, and all objects except the menu suite enables you to change the behavior or appearance of the object by specifying properties. You can only access the properties of an object while editing an object. مثل ما أنا شفت عملت design in the object designer. To access properties, you go to the objects, you select the first empty row. هون إذا نروح على first empty row نكبس properties، بس نكبس properties بيفتح لنا properties تبع هالobject directly. The empty row is indicated with an asterisk. مثل ما انا فتت هون اخر شيء على هيدا الاسterisk هون، هذا الامتي رو نوقف عليه بنحط تولز نحط فيو بروبرتيز، او في هون عندنا شورت كات للبروبرتيز فوق بنلبسها بتفتح البروبرتيز تبعنا. Regardless of if you are accessing the properties of an object or an object element, such as a control or an action, the properties window has the same structure and is presented as a table with two columns. The property column contains the name of the property. This is non-editable, and the value of the column contains the value of the property which you can set. Some properties such as ID, name, caption, ML, or description are common for all object types, whereas most of the other properties are specified to the object type of the object that you are editing. The properties window shows the properties of an object element. Each property has a default value. This is indicated by هيدا الكود، هيدا الديفولت فاليو less than and greater than. For example, the data per company هون مثل ما شايفين data per company property for a table has a default value of yes, which displays is placed as less than, yes, greater than. You can always revert the default property value by deleting the property in the value column. To change a value of the property, you can do the following: enter the value in the property manually. نغيرها هون manually، نكتب فيها manually احنا. Or select the value from the drop down list. هون في عنا drop down list بنكبسها بننقي شو الفاليوز available either yes او no. اذا شفتوا بس ننقي احنا فاليو صار بولد وراحوا هول لان بطلوا الديفولت. اذا بنمحيها ونتركها فاضيه بترجع بتجي الديفولت as is. You can access a specific property editor by clicking the Assist Edit button on the right side of the property. مثلا هون إذا على permissions بنكبس هاي الأسيست Edit، من هون فينا ننقل permissions اللي نحن بدنا إياها. For example, the permissions property on any object lets you access the permissions window. هيدا permissions window قدامنا هون, where you can define the property value for more into accessibility, then by entering the value manually. هلا في عندنا التريجرز بعد ما هلا نحكي عن تريجرز. مثل ما شايفين هون عندنا بعد triggers لأنه هون object design fundamentals. Triggers are predefined functions that execute when certain actions occur in Microsoft Dynamics Business Center. For example, triggers occur when users insert rows into table, click on an action, or run a page. All objects except for menu suite contain triggers. There are object triggers that occur when the event applies to the object itself, such as on insert trigger in a table. التريجرز بنفتح نحن هون سيال كود. هون triggers ما عم نكتب نحن الكود تاعنا. The object element triggers that occur when the event applies on an object element such as fields, controls, or actions. When triggers relate to an object element, they are referred to with a specific element name. For example, field triggers, control triggers, or action triggers. Each object and object element defines different triggers. However, you can always access the triggers in a uniform way regardless of which object type that you are designing. To access the triggers of an object, we select the first empty row, نحط view CAL مثل ما أنا شفت، أو بنكبس F9 on your keyboard, or you click the CAL code button in the toolbar. هيدي هي كنا فاتحينها هون، تفتح لنا CAL code، أو بنكبس F9 أو بنحط view CAL code تفتح لنا. Other than properties and triggers, application object definitions contain several types of elements. Some of those elements belong to all object types. Most of the elements have similar purpose and follow the same basic design and behavior principles. For example, most object types in the CL globals, such as variables, text, constants, and functions. These can be accessed from a CL code within the object. Also, some elements such as fields or field groups belong only to tables. You cannot define that cannot be defined in any other object types. Those specific elements are explained in detail and with explanation of specific object types later in this course. لنكمل بالسلايدز. عندنا التيم development features. We have the locking, unlocking, force unlocking, and auto locking للobjects. وقت نكون نحن عم نعمل development as a team يكون في كذا developer عم يشتغلوا على نفس التيبل. Microsoft Dynamics Business Central Development Environment supports environments where multiple developers are working together on a single Dynamics Business Central application. The highest risk of having multiple developers working on the same application is a possibility that one developer could override the changes that were made by another developer. This results in lost work and possible bugs. To make the development in a team environment easier and less risky, Microsoft Dynamics Business Central Development Environment lets developers lock and unlock the objects. This prevents accidental overrides of the same object by other developers. نبلش احنا باللوكينج. If two developers are editing the same object at the same time, the system will only keep the version of the object which was last saved. To prevent other developers from accidentally changing an object that you are editing, you can lock the object. To lock an object, you select the object on the object designer that you want to lock. مثلا بدنا نعمل lock للcustomer table. وقفنا عليها, we select it. we then click file lock. بس شفنا صار هون locked، وحطوا مين اليوزر اللي انا عم بستعمله هلا اللي عمل لوك لهيدي الاوبجكت. اوكي، as simple as that. When an object is locked, only the developer who has locked it can save the object. Other users can still do, يعني other users can still open the object in read-only mode. بس فين يفتحوها in read-only mode, compile the object and run the object. When an object is locked, no other user can lock it until the user who has originally locked it unlocks it. واذا حدا جرب يعمل لها سيف او يعمل لها unlock حتكبر له an error. When an object is opened in the read-only mode, the save function of the file menu is disabled, and the caption bar of the object designer states the object is read-only. هلا عنا unlocking. When you complete the development work on a locked object, you can unlock it so that developers can change it to unlock the object file, the object on the file menu. بس file unlock ساعتها راحت اللوكت وراح اللوكت باي مين من هون. Unlocking the object will reset the locked flag and remove the value from the locked by property. After unlocking, other users can open the object or lock the object for themselves. بعد في عنا نحن force unlocking. Sometimes a user who has locked an object is unavailable and the object needs to be changed by another user. In this situation, you can force the unlock of the object. You can use only users who have super permission set can force unlock objects locked by other users. To force an unlock an object or a range of objects, we select the objects in the object designer. هون ندوس file عندنا force unlock. Since it's not locked it's not locked نقدر نستعملها. Auto locking. Users may frequently forget to lock the objects before opening them in the designer. You can configure the development environment to automatically lock the objects when the user designs them. يعني بس نكبس design فينا نخلي السيستم دايركتلي يعمل له لوك لحاله. To switch auto locking on and on, we click tools, options. To open options, and the options window we set the auto lock on design property to yes. عادي auto lock on design property بنحطها yes. ساعتها كل ما نعمل نحن design directly بيعملوا lock الاوبجكتس. لحد هلا كل شيء كلير؟
يس، بس في أنا عندي سؤال، ما فهمت شو الفرق بين الفورس لوكينج واللوك العادي.
ما في فورس لوكينج، في فورس
الفورس
انلوك.
انلوكينج قصدي.
ايه عندك انت مثلا اذا انا يوزر، انا مثلا ديفلوبر فتت عم بشتغل على الجي ال اكونت تيبل وعملت لها لوك وانا فليت ونسيت اعمل لها انلوك وانا رحت اوف مثلا يومين او مش جاي على الشغل اليوم وفي حدا ديفلوبر ثاني بده يشتغل على هالاوبجكت، شو نخليها ما بيقدر يفوت يقدر يعمل لها ديزاين هو سيف. ساعتها اليوزر اللي عنده سوبر بيرميشن بيعمل لها فايل وفورس انلوك، يعني لو حتى مش هو اليوزر اللي عمل له لوك ساعتها بيقدر يعمل لها انلوك لحدا ثاني يستعملها غيره. كلير؟
اوكي.
في عندك اني كويشن غير من؟
لا بس اخر وحده اللي حكينا عنها بعد الفورس انلوكينج شو هي؟
اوتو لوكينج.
اوتو لوكينج هيدي مثلا فينا نعمل اوتو لوك اوتوماتيكلي، يعني بس بدنا نعمل ديزاين
ساعتها بس اكبس انا ديزاين بدي اعدل بشيء، بس كون عامل ديزاين دغري بتعمل اوبجكت لوك لحالها.
اوكي
اذا حطينا يس بقلب الاوبشنز. اوكي لا نكمل. سوري. هلا عندنا الفيزيكال and logical databases. Typical database users are not concerned with the size and the location of data on disk. Developers want to be sure that when they refer to a name, the correct value is returned. Microsoft Dynamics Business Central provides a conceptual representation of data that does not include too many details about how the data is stored. An abstract data model uses logical concepts such as objects, their properties, and their relations that are easier to understand. Users should only concern themselves with the structure of the data and the relationship between different pieces of information, and not how these structures and relations are implemented. The physical database deals with how the structures in the logical database and the search paths between them are implemented in Microsoft SQL Server. When the term database is used, it generally refers to the logical database unless otherwise noted. What is visible to the user is a coherent set of information in the Seaside database system that is stored in several physical disk files. مثل ما شايفين هون نحن access to the data is made possible by a well-defined logical organizations, which is fields, records, tables, and companies. هلا نحن will discuss الستراكشر تاع الداتابيز. مثل ما انتم هون شايفين عندنا نحن field, record, table, company، وهن بشكله الداتابيز كله. fields هي اول level، اول logic sorry، which a field is the smallest logical structure that is used in Microsoft Dynamics Business Central database. A field contains a single piece of information such as a name or an amount. A field can only contain one specific type of information. Fields are assembled into a structure called a record. A field can hold only a limited amount of information. By grouping these fields into records, you can create a more flexible, organized information structures. Then level here, records. A record is a logical structure that is assembled from an arbitrary number of fields. Fields are used to store a single entry in a database. The fields in a record store information about entity properties that are represented by the record. Records are organized in tables. Level اللي أعلى منها بيرجع لنا tables. Think of a table as a matrix. Each row describes a record and each column describes a field in the table. يعني نحن عندنا هون عندنا هيدا التيبل، بقلب التيبل احنا عندنا الفيلدز هيدول الفيلدز كلهم، هيدي كل وحده فيلد. واذا عملنا لها ران للتيبل، مثلا فتحنا الكاستمر تيبل عملنا لها ران، السيت اوف فيلدز اللي معبى فيهم داتا بقلب السيستم هن ريكوردز. انا بس هلا بتفتح تيبل، هيدا مثلا احنا عندنا النمبر فيلد، النيم فيلد، سيرش نيم فيلد، النيم تو فيلد، مثل ما شايفين هون ادرس. هول ار فيلدز. اللاين الواحد السيت اوف فيلدز مع الداتا تاعولهم اسمه ريكورد. كل هيدي الداتا اللي هون هي بتشكل لنا الكاستمر تيبل، يعني الريكوردز والفيلدز بتشكل لنا الكاستمر تيبل. Tables are organized by companies, where a company is the largest logical structure that is used in Microsoft Dynamics Business Central database. A company may be considered as a sub-database. Its primary use is to separate a group of large sections of data in a database. A company can contain private tables and tables that are shown with other companies. مثل ما شايفين هيدي هون الفيجر shows the logical structure of the data in Microsoft Dynamics Business Central. هذا عنده any concern? Okay. Sorry. هلا حنعمل ديزاين وران لاوبجكت. نحن ناخذ اكزامبل سيناريو. مثلا نحن هون مثل ما شايفين Isaac is a developer for Kronos International Limited and is learning how to design objects in Microsoft Dynamics Business Central development environment. He creates an empty page and saves it to test the functionality of the object designer. هذا اللاب اللي احنا عملناه هون. He has the following. We have two exercises which accessing the object designer and creating an object. اول exercise which is the accessing the object designer. هو ما نحن نفتح الاوبجكت ديزاينر كنا احنا عنا مسكر هون، نبص على develop environment، نعتبر هيدا مسكر، ما عنا شيء مفتوح develop environment. نكبس نعمل open a database، نروح نعمل هون فايل. هون هقول لك ترجعوا انتم تعملون يعني بعدين انا بحط لكم اياهم. نحط database open، وبننقي نحن الداتا اللي بدنا اياها، بنحط اوكي، بيفتح لنا database. اذا ما كان فاتح وعاملين كونكت نحط tools object designer or shift F12، يفتح لنا الاوبجكت ديزاينر. To create an object بدنا نخلق blank page ونسيفها برقم معين. بنروح نحن بنكبس على page، نحط new تحت، بس حطينا new بتقلنا بدكم to create a blank page or create a page using a wizard. نحن هلا حنضلنا as a blank page. نعمل نحن as file، بدنا ننقي page table مثلا، نحن نعمل page currency مثلا. اكيد نحط اوكي، طلعت البيج فاضية. نعمل فايل سيف از، نحط اي دي مثلا 9007، لانه اي دي بيكون مسيف منه. بنسميها تيست بيج، نحط اوكي. سوري، بدنا خليني احط اللايسنس بس، او نسيبها بغير تولز لايسنس انفورميشن ابلود، انا عشان ما سيفت هيدا بعدين بحكي عنه. فايل داتابيز اوكي. هون بنعمل نيو، نحط اوكي، فايل سيف از، نحطه 90011، نسميها تيست بيج. هون شفتوا كومبايل، بنحط اوكي. هلا هو السيستم خلق لي البيج. هلا لنقدر نحن نلاقي البيج اللي بدنا اياها، نروح على الليست اوف بيجز ولوكيت. هون فينا نعمل فلتر، نكبس هون، نكبس فلتر فوق تيبل فلتر، نحط الاي دي تاعيتنا نحن حطيناها، نحط اوكي. هيدي هي البيج اللي نحن خلقناها، ومثل ما شفتوا هون موديفايد، انه هيدا نحن عاملين خالقينها مع الديت تاعها هون. as simple as that. هيدا كان اول موديول نحن عنا هون. let's take a 10 minutes break please. 10 او 15 minutes break، ما عندي مشكله. على 420 بليز بنرجع بنكمل. عندك any question لحد هلا محمد؟
لا all clear هلا حاليا.
all clear.
يب.
اذا كان عندك question انا عم بشرح بليز دغري ستوب مي لنكمل. اوكي حبيبي،
اوكي.
يلا خلينا على 24 دقيقة بنرجع بنكمل. يلا بس تصير معنا سينار. اوكي محمد يلا. نحن we covered the first module for today. هنعمل موديول 2 اليوم كمان. بالموديل 2 الاوفر فيو تاعه will explain the concepts of هو discussing tables اكيد your exponents examine the concept behind primary and secondary keys and explain how to set them. Create a simple table with primary and secondary keys and add data to the table with a filter and condition. Describe the special table fields. Use special table fields to improve table features. Tables are the most sorry. Tables are the most fundamental objects in microdynamics now. NAV Business Center. Sorry, we are used to say NAV. They store records that are collected through pages, for example, customers, sales, and inventories. These records are then presented to users through pages and reports. Let's start. Table fundamentals. A table can be visualized as a two-dimensional matrix consisting of columns and rows. Each row is a single record, and each column is a field field in that record. A table consists of table data and table description. The table data contains the actual records and properties of the table and the fields accordingly. The table description, he or she assigns the table name, ID number, and the fields. This establishes the table description. Field initial value together with the primary and secondary keys used to sequence data are also part of the table description. The description contains properties, triggers, fields, and keys. The table components and their relation figures shows components of the table description and how they are related. Let's continue. Let's discuss each and every part. And table properties. The table description contains some properties that are related to the table and those that are related to the table or the keys in the table. When a table table properties, defining on the depending on the table's purpose and its relation to other application objects. These default values are properties such as ID, name, and caption differentiate from one table to another. The permission property establishes a specific permissions for users. Other example of table properties include lookup page ID, drill down. You can view or modify properties from the properties window, which is accessed in the table designer. نفوت على table مثلا نفتح tables الفلتر. Let's use any table. مثلا table customer 18. طلع design. design view tools sorry. view properties.
جاد انت منك عامل شير سكرين اذا منك
sorry. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. اوكي يلا I share my screen. نرجع احنا على tables. ننقي التيبل نروح تيبل كاستمر بنحط ديزاين ننزل على فيلد empty نحط فيو بروبرتيز. هيدي تيبل بروبرتيز مثل ما شايفين هون. مثل ما كنت عم اقول انا هون عندنا standard table properties such as ID. This is ID which is 18. The name, caption, the permission property which which establishes specific permissions for users. Other examples of table properties include, for example, lookup page ID, drill down page ID, which specify the page ID that is used to look up and drill down information in the table. مثلا هون عندنا for example data per company. The value of the property is yes with angle brackets which or less than greater than, which this specifies that it is the default value. If we choose another value, no, then it will be in bold and without brackets. If we delete it and we put it empty, leave it empty, sorry, we will have the brackets again. We have the lookup page ID, for example, as you can see here. The value of the of this property is customer lookup. This property specifies that the customer lookup sorry, drill down, customer list or lookup page is used to look up values in the customer table. Also, the drill down property, it's where we can drill, it shows us which page we can drill down with the customers, on the customers. These will be covered in other chapters of this course. هلا هنحكي عن triggers. We will talk about triggers. Triggers are predefined functions that start when certain events occur. The bodies of these functions are first empty and must be defined by the developer. Defining CL code and triggers lets developers change the system's default behavior. Triggers in a table can be divided into two categories, which are table triggers or field triggers. Let's open the triggers. On insert, on modify, and on delete triggers are the table triggers. Examples of table triggers include on insert, which contains statements that implement after a new record is inserted in the table. On modify trigger contains a statement that implements a record in a table when a table is modified. Triggers in a table are edited in the CL editor, which you can access from the table designer. حتى on delete also the on delete the same behavior. Then we have field triggers, also the only name also. Also, we have the field triggers. Each field that is what we have in the table has its own trigger. A table must at least have one field. Fields define the actual information that is kept in a table. Each field has its own properties and triggers. Each field has an appropriate data type. Each data type holds a specific information. For example, here the number field. Each field has an appropriate data type. مثلا number field is code, name field is text, etc. Such as text, number, dates, and so on. The following table shows, and also we have several data types. Let us see them all. Here are the several data types. Which are big integer, binary, blob, boolean, code, date formula, date time, decimal, duration, GID, graphical user interface ID, integer, option, record, table filter, text, time, and etc. We will go through them in the rest of the chapter, in other chapters. We have also field properties. If you press on a field and press properties, we have also specific properties that are defined for fields. Some field properties are used to identify the field among other fields, such as ID, name, and caption. Other field properties are used to establish data type and set the field's behavior, such as the data type, enabled, and not blank properties. The following steps show how to open properties, as I did now. We just stand on a field that we need to see its properties, go to view, properties, or press Shift F4, or press properties button where it will open. The number properties window now opened and shows the properties for the field. Developers can now view and modify properties for the number field. For example, here we have the not blank property. This property prevents, which is set to no, which property prevents the users from leaving this field blank. It is used on most primary key fields. Also, as we said, we have field triggers. We have two field triggers for each field. If you press here, we have the on validate and on lookup trigger, as you can see here, on lookup and on validate. Table and field triggers can be viewed and modified from the CAL editor, which you can access from the table designer. Here we have the on insert and on validate and on lookup triggers. Now let us discuss the keys. The table description contains a list of keys. A key is a sequence of one or more field IDs from the table. Up to 40 keys can be associated to a table. Keys are used to define the sorting method of records in a table, although this is not only the use of keys. The following now, to be able to check the keys of the customer table, we go to the design, view, keys, and here are the keys defined for this table. Also, we have for each key other properties for each key, as you can see here. We also have field groups. In the rotated client, some fields are enabled with filter as you type functionality. When you type text into these fields, a drop-down control appears that displays data from a source table. To specify which fields are displayed in the drop-down control, you must use field groups. To be able to use field groups, we go field, view, field groups. As you can see here, we have drop-down and break field groups. An example of field groups is used in the sales order page, for example. The sell to customer number field. نفتح sales order. Order. Let's open a sales order. If you open to the sell to customer number, هو هن اللي بيطلعوا بالفيلد جروب. Has a table relation and customer table. On this page, when you select the sell to customer number field, a drop-down control shows the fields that are defined in the customer tables field groups. And هون احنا عندنا field group number, name, city, postcode, phone, contact. Here we have number, this is the number, name, city, postcode, phone, contact. Is defined here in the field groups. Now we will let us discuss the primary and secondary keys of a table. The two kinds of keys are primary and secondary key. Up to 40 keys can be associated to a table, and the first on the list is a primary key. All other keys are secondary keys and optional. The database keeps track of each record by using the record's primary key. We consider the primary key of a record as the name of the record. The identifier of each record is in a particular table for a particular company must be unique. This identifier is how Microsoft SQL Server retrieves and updates records. A primary key is composed of up to 20 fields in a record. The combination of values in fields in the primary key makes it possible for Microsoft SQL Server to perform a unique identification of each record. The primary key determines the logical order in which records are stored, regardless of their physical placement on a disk. Logically, the records are stored sequentially in an ascending order, stored according to a primary key. Before you add a new record to a table, Microsoft SQL Server checks that the information in the primary key fields in the record is unique, and only then inserts a record into its correct logical position because the records are sorted as they are entered. The database is always structurally correct. This enables fast data manipulation and retrieval. The primary key is always active. The Microsoft SQL Server keeps the table sorted in a primary key order and rejects records with duplicate values in the primary key fields. Therefore, the value in the primary key must always be unique. It is not the value in each field in the primary key that must be unique, but the combination of values of all fields that consist the primary key. Microsoft Dynamics Business Central does not support unkeyed tables. Let's talk about now secondary keys. Secondary keys are used to view records in an order that differs from that one in which they are sorted according to primary key fields. The number of fields in primary key together, all the fields in each secondary key must not exceed 20. Each secondary key can contain up to 20 unique fields. However, these 20 unique fields must also include all the fields from the primary key. The primary key fields that are not mentioned specifically in the secondary keys are added to the end of the key by Microsoft SQL Server. This means that if the primary key includes 4 distinct fields, then a secondary key can include these 4 fields and at most 16 other fields. Correspondingly, if the primary key consists of 20 distinct fields, then any secondary key must consist of only combinations of these fields. With a secondary key, when a secondary key is defined and selected as active, the system automatically maintains an index that reflects the sorting order that the key is defined. Several secondary keys can be active at the same time. A secondary key can be changed into an active key. This means that the Microsoft SQL Server does not use this time during this key. Let me open the keys, view keys. هيدي هون enable والactive موجودين. The fields that consist of the secondary keys are not guaranteed to contain unique data. Microsoft SQL Server does not reject records with duplicate data and secondary keys. If 2 or more records contain identical information in the secondary key, Microsoft SQL Server uses the primary key for the table to resolve this conflict, as you can see here. Now let's do a demonstration where we will create a simple table, create table design, set the primary key, add data to the table, create a secondary key, and use the secondary key. Let's start. Let me see, okay. One here, demonstration. Let's go to the development environment, go to tables, and press new. Let us add the following fields. Field number 10, let's put model, code 20. Field number 20, أنا مسمي الفيلدز مثل ما بدي. Serial number for example. Okay. For example, the following demonstration shows how to create a simple table, set of primary key, create a secondary key, and add data to the table. The purpose of this table is to record information about vehicles. أنا بلاش تعمل concept. This includes the model, serial number, transmission type, and date of manufacturing. We put the number, the model, serial number, integer, description, text of 50 characters in length from here, 40, transmission is double S, option field, 50 list price is a decimal, and 60, our last field is date of manufacturing, is a date field. Now, in the transmission, we need to add options. Since it's an option, go to its properties. In the option string, here, we define our options, which may be automatic, 4-speed, or 5-speed transmission. Here, to save it, we go File, Save As, or press Ctrl S, and our window will open. We will save it 90,000 and call it a vehicle table. Vehicle table. And press OK. Now we have created a table which is 90,000, which is the vehicle table, as you can see here. Now we design, let's add keys to this table. We go to View, View Keys. As you can see here, the model is by default the first key. We will replace the current primary key with the following, which is the model and serial number. Press OK. Then we have these two keys define the primary key of this table. Then we save, compile this table. Saving, it's saved now accordingly. Now to open this table, we select it and press run. As you can see here, we have created this table with these modules in it. The vehicle table opens in a tabular form. This form is auto-created by Microsoft Dynamics Business Central development environment. Notice that the table now is currently empty. We type the following information in it. Let us enter data to this table. For example, more Ford, number 5000, description red Mustang. Auto, list price is 18,000. Date of manufacturing is 01 okay, 15/01/2022. Another car here we have Ford, the number 2000, blue F-150, has a 5-speed transmission. This price is 26,000. Model, date of manufacturing 13/03/2021. Okay, this is set up. Refresh. Okay. 13/01/2022. Okay. Let's add more data. Toyota 1000 serial number. Gold Camry, automatic 23,000, etc. Let's see. Also, we have, for example, Jeep, $3,000, white brand Cherokee, automatic 15,000, whatever the date, and we enter the more BMW 3000 blue X3 automatic 10,000 and so whatever. Here we enter data to the table. Now we close the table. Now we can create a secondary key where we go to design of this table, go to view, keys, and we want to add a secondary key on the second line. We want to, the secondary key should be date of manufacturing and transmission. Let's choose date of manufacturing and transmission. Okay, now this is a secondary key on this table. We save it. Now to use the secondary key, we run the table. Okay, as you can see here, now they are sorted in the model and serial number. As you can see here, we can remove the filter and advanced filter, as you can see here, accordingly. Then we have created, now we can sort, sorry, in the date of manufacturing and transmission also. Now let's talk about relationships, table relationships. The three kind of table relationships available in our system, which are one-to-many, many-to-many, and one-to-one. You have table relation property, filter table relation, and conditional table relation. The three kinds, as I said, are one-to-many, many-to-many, and one-to-one. The one-to-many relationship is most common. If a database contains tables with related data, developers can define a relationship between them. Developers relate tables by specifying one or more fields that contain the same value in related records. These matching fields frequently have the same name in each table. The fields can use relationships to do the following: validate data entries, perform lookup in other tables, and automatically propagate changes in one table to another. Table relation properties are defined by using the table relation property in the table designer. Let's go here, press properties. Sorry. Here you have the table relation. This property lets developers to define simple and advanced table relations. A simple table relation consists of only a table ID and an optional field ID, whereas advanced table relations are typically prefixed with a conditional statement and includes filters. When developers create a table relation, they specify which field to look up in other table. If to make a relation to the second or third field, a primary key, the field ID must be specified. An example of table relation is shown in the sales header table, where the sales header table has a salesperson code. Let's go to sales order. Or postcode or anything. If you can see here, we have a postcode field. When we press it, it opens the postcodes tables. if we go to the sales header table, sales header design, we look for postcode. Postcode. Let's look for it. Any other similar type of fields إذا ما لقيناها بسرعة بنجرب واحدة غيرها. Okay, we did not find it. Let us check. Or sell to customer number. If you press here, as you can see here, it's a table relation, table customer. When we press on customers, it opens the customer table. We have also the filter table relation. In advanced table relations, we can involve filtering within the table relation. An example of filtering in a table relation is shown in the sales line table. مثلا نروح على sales line table. We have the location field. View, as you can see here, table relation. When you press on it, it opens the data in a location where we filter that use as in transit is equal to no. Then when we choose a location in the sales line field, all locations that has use as trans locations set to no will not appear. We'll see examples later on in the chapters. We also have the conditional table relation, as you can see here. Advanced table relations can also involve a conditional statement with the table relation. An example of the conditional table relation is also shown in the sales line table. Let us see here, sales line table. The sales line table has a number field that relates to 6 different tables depending on the condition of the type and the sales line. Let us press here. As you can see here, I have conditions. Here is the condition. If type is fixed asset, then it will show data about fixed asset. If type is item or charge, it shows data about charge, and so on. عندك any question? Do you have any question?
لا.
We have now a demonstration. In this demonstration, we will go through how to set table relations, create a table with table relations, set a table relation with a filter, set a conditional table relation, test the table relation, and test a filter and conditional table relation. The following demonstration shows how to create a table to record sales transactions and create fields that have table relation to other tables. You need to create a new table named sales transaction. This table must record the salesperson as a particular transaction. The salesperson purchaser table holds the records of all salespersons. Therefore, your sales transaction table sets a table relation for the salesperson code field in the sales transaction table to relate to the salesperson purchaser table. The sales transaction table must also should also record sales transactions of items, resources, or general ledger accounts. The type field is used to differentiate this. Depending on the type selected, the number field must relate to different tables, the item table, the resource table, and the GL account table, or the standard text table. The following steps show how to set a conditional table relation on the field number field. Now we should create the table of table relations. Let us create the table. Go to new. We have the line number field, integer, salesperson code, code, type, option, number, code, okay, amount, is decimal, and so on. Save it. Before saving it, let's set the type option string here. In the type option string, let's define we have types which are GL account or item or resource. Now let's save it. 9001, since we have 90,000, 90,000, sorry, and one sales transaction. That's okay. Now we should set table relations with a filter. Now we press on the salesperson code, go properties, table relation. Here in the table relation, we choose table 13. Oh, sorry. Choose table 13, which is the salesperson purchaser code. And on the table filter, we press on the assist edit button. In this window, we specify the filters on as many fields in the related table as we need. A filter can be added to the list in 3 ways: by a constant value, by using a filter expression, or by a field in the current table. In case you use a filter expression, we need to do the following: commission field, commission percentage, to filter on all for commission less than 0. So it's person that has commissions that are less than 0. Press OK. As you can see here, the filter is added. Press OK. As you can see here, the table relation with its filter is added accordingly. Now we close and compile. We save and compile the table. Now let's add data to this table. We press run. Sorry, I run the wrong table. It is. Press run. The metadata is not synced for the table with ID. Please try again later. Let me check what's wrong. It's compiled, design. Let's save it again. Run. Run. Let me see what's is the issue. Wait, please. Oh, okay, that's set the condition on the table relation. I forgot. Type gel account item. Okay, here it is on the for the number field on assist button. We didn't create a number field here. Let me double check. Field number, line number. Okay. Okay, let me double check. But what is this error that is showing here? Okay, here on the number field, press here. Let's continue. On the assist button on the test the table relation, we press here. We add the following constants, conditional table relation, sorry. Here, we have type, constant, G, L, count, type, constant item, type, constant resource, or if you leave it empty, it's standard text. Okay, press OK. And here is the condition. Press OK. As you can see here is the condition. Compile and save this table. Table number will be blank. Where is the table number blank? Okay, we forgot to add the table number. Let me double check. Okay, we forgot to add the tables. GL count table, item, and resource. Now, resource. Now we can add the constants, which are type, constant, G, account, or type, constant item, or type, constant resource. Okay, now we can save accordingly. Sorry, let's double check. Now, this is a mistake that we may face while we are working as developers. If you don't press OK here, then it will not save. Let us enter that again. GL account. Have item, resource, only resource, not resource group. Okay, in the GL account, we have the type, G/L account. We have the type, item, and type resource. Okay, now we have to press OK here in order for it to be saved, and then we will save our table. Okay, now we run the table 13. Let's open the table 13. We move to a blank line and type the following. Blank line, we type XX new sales person 5% money. We close this table. Now we run table 001 base transactions. I have to sync the database. Let me sync it now, please. Force. Okay, it will take some time. Since we created a new table, we'll have to sync it. Run. Okay. It opened here. We enter data and salesperson. As you can see, if you press here, that we can choose the salesperson that we did, which is item number 70,000. Amount is $123.56. The other salesperson we are also item, also 70,000, $234.97. Third is XX also item 700 90.99, as you can see here. We close this table. We go to table 13 again. Open table 13. We select the previously added line and then replace the XX in the code field with YY. Let us change its code. YY. We'll get this message. We press yes. I opened the wrong table. XX. Yes. Go to table, our table. We have created sales transaction. And here we change. Oh, okay. Let me explain again. If now we change this value to YY, we change the XX. Since we have a validate table relation, now if you open our table here, all the values which were XX now will be YY directly. Now we should test the filter and the conditional table relation. We run this table that we are using now. We delete all the current records in the table. The easiest way to delete all records is to select the upper left gray box, which is here, and press delete. All the records now deleted. Now we press here the lookup button. Let us enter, first line number. Press on the button here. Select the lookup button and the salesperson code field to retrieve a value from the salesperson purchaser table. Notice that not all records from the salesperson purchaser table are shown. Only those records that have the commission percentage field set to greater than 0 are shown. As you can see here, press advanced. Here is the filter that we have set in our table. If we remove it, now we have several salesperson purchasers, but with different commissions. Here, this now our table relation filter. And this is how our table relation filter works. Now we let us select JR, John Roberts. Here we put type, and the type, right. Item. Now we click the lookup button here. As you can see here, items are shown, but if we chose GL account, GL accounts now are now shown here. And if we select resource, now the resources are shown here. And this is how we tested the conditional filter in a table iteration set in the table. Do we have any questions?
No, all clear.
Okay, perfect. Let's continue. This lesson هلا هنحكي عن special field and special table fields. In addition to the conventional data fields that hold values, three kinds of specialized fields are available for data retrieval, which are some index fields, flow filter fields. Flow fields. A flow field is a virtual field that extends the table data. It is not a permanent part of the table data. A flow field is a powerful feature of the Microsoft Dynamics Business Central. It is used to calculate values from another table. The information in the flow field exists only at runtime. To update a flow field, developers use the calc fields function that has a specific syntax. If the flow field is a direct source expression of a control page on a control page, the flow field is automatically calculated when the page is displayed. If a flow field is a direct resource expression of a field on a report, XML report, or a query, the flow field is automatically calculated when the record is retrieved from the database. And we have several types of flow fields. Let us see them. Here, let us have the amount sign. We put it as a flow field. The calc formula flow field. Here we have the sum, which is a decimal. For a decimal field, the sum of a specified set in a column in a table. We have the average value of a specified set in a column in a table. The exist, which is for Boolean, it indicates whether any record exists in a specified set in a table. We have the count, which is integer, the number of records in a specified set in a table. We have the minimum value in a column in a specified set in a table. We have the max, which is the maximum value in a column in a specified set in a table. We have the lookup, which looks up a value in the column in another table. Here. Also, we have a flow filter. We have a normal field, flow field, and a flow filter field. Users want to limit calculations so that they can include only those values in a column that has some specified properties. For example, the user might want to sum up only the amounts of customer entries that are interested in April. This is possible if the application is designed by using flow filters fields for the flow fields. The flow filter must exist in the same table as a flow field and will automatically appear on all pages within this table as a source table in the limit totals flow filter. We also have some index fields. Some index field is a decimal field that can be attached to a key. For example, let us go view fields. Here we have some index fields. We choose fields. This is the fundamental feature of Microsoft Dynamics Business Central that constructs the basis for flow fields. Some index fields enable fast calculation of numeric columns in tables, even in tables with thousands of records. This is because of some index fields are maintained when the database record is updated. Some index fields enable fast calculations such as sums of columns to be displayed by using flow fields. For example, in a typical database application. If a user wants to sum of all the values in the amount field, Microsoft SQL Server is forced to access every record and add each value in the amount field. This is a time-consuming operation. In a database that has thousands of records with Microsoft Dynamics Business Central is as few as 2 accesses, if the best key is used, are used to add the amount for these records. This special index structure, a structure some index field is associated with a key. Each key can have at most 20 in some index fields. During database design, a decimal field can be associated with a key as some index field. This tells Microsoft SQL Server to create and maintain a structure that contains the accumulated sum of values in a column. Also, we have special table fields examples. You can find the use of special tables fields almost everywhere in the application. One example of where you can find special table fields use is the customer table. There are several special table fields that are implemented in the customer table. Let's go to the customer table. Table 18. 18. Design. One of the special fields is the balance LCY field, which is a flow field of type sum. Let's balance LCY. Let's look for it. It is. Go to properties. As you can see here, it's a flow field. It is not a physical field in the table. Instead, it is derived by calculating the amount. As you press here, it's a sum field from the detailed customer ledger entry table, which we calculate the amount on this table filter, where customer number equals the number, initial entry global dimension 1 is equal to the global dimension filter, as well as for the global dimension 2, and based on the currency code, which is the currency filter field. However, the sum index field amount is located in the keys of the detailed customer ledger entry table. This finishes the implementation of special table fields. هيك نخلق احنا special tables. Now let's do a demonstration. We finished for today. Let's take a 10 minutes break if you want, and we will get back in 10 minutes. All is good, محمد. في any question?
لا all is good. بس هلا بالنسبة لهدول الاكزامبلز انا برجع
اكيد هلا بيطلع لكم انتم
اذا في شيء عندي سؤال اكيد
هتعملوا هبعت لك لابز و
يس
سمبل ستاف. انت الاكزامبلز ترجع بتطبقهم واحده ورا واحده وبعدين جريد، واذا عندك جريدد وبعدين اذا اني كويشن عندك اياه وي كان دبل تشيك وقت اللي بدك. عرفت كيف حبيبي؟
اوكي.